Chapter 38. Yet again, the two stranded children and the retired Commodore were flung about in a deluxe suite at the Midpoint Hotel, currently under deconstruction.
"Oh, alien genius!"
Sully shouted.
"Bit tired of doing my impression of the bridge of the USS Enterprise under attack, eh?"
I feel really bad for that ant farm I got for Christmas. Dawn was wobbly as she attempted to stand up and help her little brother up. What the hell are we gonna do? Young Pete asked. He steadied himself. The tremors had slowed to a stop. Mr. Blue looked down disapprovingly at the 9-year-old boy as he dusted off his cobalt suit and started typing on his temporal wristwatch.
"Thoughts?"
Sully started to light a cigarette, yet refrained. The Time Lord shrugged. "It is certainly a valid enough question. What the hell are we going to do?" Sully leaned in, gripping Mr. Blue by the shoulder, gravely whispering.
"Traveler, I would think it would sound much better, particularly for the children, if you let me ask that question, and you provide some sort of answer."
Mr. Blue nodded. "I'll see what I can do." He left the suite, entering the lavishly decorated hallway, followed by Sully and the children. After more tweaking on his temporal wrist device, the Time Lord told the others to stop. He strode ahead of the group, and from the time watch, a wide sweeping beam of sapphire was emitted. "It's a quantum spectrograph analyzer," he explained with a flourish. Pete and Dawn appeared momentarily enthralled, watching the blue ray crackle and spark as it moved from the ceiling to the wall to the floor. "Aha!" The alien in the cobalt suit shouted excitedly. He amplified the intensity of the light, then focused it, concentrating it to the size of a baseball. He was followed by a group of swarming silver-colored particles. "Hello there, lovies!" The rapids swarmed around steadily. "Not much for talk, then?" The Time Lord adjusted his temporal wrist device. "We would love a chance to leave, if at all possible."
"So bloody polite,"
Sully said. Mr. Blue stared at the nanotechnological aliens, trying to make sense of the shapes, as the rapids were growing more complex in their intense, swirling fractals. Silver ghosts, floating and rotating in furious speed. Beautiful and elegant patterns were forming and undulating and evolving and regressing. The rapids were soon joined by other masses of silver, gathering. The Time Lord and his unwitting companions had finally got the attention of the microscopic artificial lifeforms. "I believe they're trying to."
"Aye, little guys,"
Sully excitedly reached out to the silver.
"We're gonna free ya! We give you democracy, whiskey, sexy!"
A main support structure underneath the ground snapped. All heard the steel give away with a tremendous, creaky groan. Suddenly, the long, plush, 6-star hotel corridor launched vertically, sending the entire group sliding downward. Sully immediately grabbed the base of a nearby marble table, which was bolted to the floor as Dawn fell, tumbling backward and down toward the lobby. The Commodore gripped the young lady by the wrist.
"Got ya, dearie. No worries,"
he said in a worried tone. The Time Lord seemed to have intuited this moment, as he had Pete by the hand, hanging from an electric teal tether. Mr. Blue swung from his laser whip, dangling the 9-year-old boy under him. "Sully, if it's all right with you, I will do the talking from now on. Thank you very much."
"No arguments here, old boy,"
the retired Commodore conceded. Pierre Gonzalez had turned out the lights. He was leaving. Out of nowhere, all the alarms went off, all at once. It was terrifying, screeching and wailing. Pierre instantly had a migraine. Oh, what the holy 7 hells! He rubbed his temples furiously as he angrily stomped his way back to the control center. It was mammoth, empty, and eerie. Hundreds of empty seats, all lit intermittently, filled with the strobing effect of the dark crimson-red emergency lights, suffused into every shadow. It was never like this. In all his years, Pierre was truly surprised and afraid. Whatever was happening up at the midpoint was now in the realm of the serious shit level, of which he had no particular expertise. Yet, he was the only one here, the only one to deal with it. Midpoint was safely evacuated and quarantined, all under his watchful, ever-vigilant eye. So now, what the hell?
Oh, what the hell?
Pierre shouted to the empty command center, his ire growing.
Seriously?
Pierre Gonzalez did have to admit to himself that this was what he had worked so hard for. This was the very reason he'd been here forever, and had been given the keys to the kingdom, to watch over it, to handle shit like this. Even if he was certain he had no idea what shit like this entailed. Just not quite yet. Pierre stopped himself for a moment, stared at the strobing red light, felt the solitude, admitted for a moment that he was overwhelmed and slightly a little, perhaps, a smidgen terrified. But that's okay. In a situation like this, where you have to do what you have to do, just admit you're scared, take it from there. He walked to his supervisor node, jacked up the terminal and gained total system infrastructure access. Step 1, he said, you have to admit there is a problem. The screen read a detonation sequence. Pierre nodded. That is a problem. His fingers became a blur of motion on the interface holo screen. Because that was not scheduled for, 4 days? As he typed, he gained confidence and shouted, almost smiling. Step 2. Believe that there is a power, or powers, greater than yourself that can help you solve the problem. Pierre pressed a button.